Okay, so I've been cooking Chinese food for years now, and I'm going to be completely honest with you right now. Most vegetable cooking guides online are absolute garbage. They tell you to blanch your broccoli, maybe add some salt, and call it a day. But Chinese people have spent literally thousands of years perfecting how to handle vegetables, and the techniques they've developed are so clever, so practical, and so surprisingly simple that once you learn them, you will never go back to cooking vegetables the boring Western way again. We're counting down all 31 of these hacks today, and I promise by the end of this video, your vegetable game will be completely transformed. So let's get into it. Number 31. Soak your eggplant in salted water before cooking. Cut your eggplant into whatever shape you need, then submerge the pieces in cold water with about 1 tablespoon of salt per bowl. Let it sit for 15 to 20 minutes, then squeeze out the excess moisture before cooking. The reason this works is that eggplant is like a sponge, and if you don't do this, it will absorb an insane amount of oil when you fry it. The salt draws out the bitter moisture from the flesh and pre-saturates the cells so they can't absorb nearly as much oil during cooking. Your eggplant will come out silky and delicious instead of greasy and heavy. Number 30. Use a wooden chopstick to test oil temperature. Instead of guessing whether your oil is hot enough, stick the tip of a wooden chopstick straight down into the oil. If tiny bubbles immediately form and race up the chopstick, your oil is ready for stir frying, which is around 350 degrees Fahrenheit. If the bubbles are slow and lazy, your oil needs more time. If the bubbles are violent and aggressive, your oil is too hot. Chinese home cooks have used this trick forever, and it's genuinely more reliable than most kitchen thermometers for everyday cooking. Number 29. Blanch your greens in boiling water with oil and salt added. When you're cooking leafy vegetables like bok choy, Chinese broccoli, or spinach, bring your water to a full rolling boil and add a teaspoon of vegetable oil and a generous pinch of salt before dropping in the vegetables. The oil creates a thin barrier that keeps the chlorophyll from leaching out into the water, preserving that stunning, vivid green color. The salt helps season the vegetables from the inside. Remove them after 60 to 90 seconds maximum and immediately transfer them to an ice bath to stop the cooking process entirely. Number 28. Dry fry your garlic before adding oil. Here is something that will completely change how your garlic tastes in stir-fries. Put your Walker pan on medium-high heat with absolutely zero oil. Then add your minced or sliced garlic and toss it around for about 30 seconds until it just starts to get fragrant and the edges turn the tiniest bit golden. Then add your oil and proceed with your recipe. This dry frying process transforms the garlic's flavor profile, giving it a much deeper, nuttier, more complex taste compared to the sharp raw garlic flavor you get when you just throw it straight into oil. Number 27. Score your vegetables for better flavor absorption. Before cooking dense vegetables like zucchini, Chinese cucumber, or even carrots, use your knife to make shallow diagonal cuts across the surface without cutting all the way through. This dramatically increases the surface area of the vegetable that gets exposed to your sauce or seasoning. Chinese people use this technique extensively with fish and meat too, but it works beautifully on vegetables. The cuts allow marinades, sauces, and heat to penetrate much deeper and faster, reducing your cooking time and intensifying the flavor dramatically. Number 26. Use cold water to keep your sliced potatoes from oxidizing. As soon as you cut your potatoes, immediately submerge them in a bowl of cold water. This prevents them from turning that ugly grayish-brown color caused by oxidation. But here is the extra clever part that most people miss. Chinese cooks also use this technique to remove excess starch from potatoes before stir-frying them. Swish the potatoes around in the cold water, drain it, and you'll see the water turn milky white. That's the starch leaving the potato. Less starch means your potatoes will fry up light and crispy rather than gummy and dense. Number 25. Use the stem of cilantro to build your base flavor. Most Western cooks throw away cilantro stems, But Chinese cooking uses them heavily in the cooking process itself because the stems actually contain even more flavor compounds than the leaves. Finely chop the cilantro stems and add them to your hot oil at the very beginning of cooking, treating them like an aromatic along with your garlic and ginger. Save the delicate leaves for garnishing at the very end. This is a zero-waste technique that actually makes your food taste better while making your ingredients stretch further. Number 24. Massage your bitter greens with salt and sugar. For vegetables like bitter melon or certain types of Chinese mustard greens that have an intense bitterness, slice them thinly, then toss them in a bowl with half a teaspoon of salt and a small pinch of sugar. Use your hands to massage this mixture firmly into the vegetable for about 2 minutes, then let it sit for 10 minutes before rinsing thoroughly. The salt pulls moisture and bitter compounds out of the vegetable cells through osmosis, while the sugar helps balance any remaining bitterness. This technique makes bitter melon genuinely approachable, even for people who normally can't stand it. Number 23. Use the wok's sloped side strategically. This one is about technique rather than ingredients. When stir-frying in a wok, don't just toss everything around randomly. Push your cooked ingredients up the sloped sides of the wok away from the direct heat while you cook aromatics or add new ingredients at the bottom. The slopes keep food warm without continuing to cook it aggressively. Chinese restaurant cooks use this constantly to manage timing and prevent overcooking while building complex layered flavors in a single pan without everything turning into mush. Number 22. Add a splash of Shaoxing rice wine to your vegetable stir-fries. Even if you don't recognize this ingredient, trust me when I say it will transform your cooking immediately. Shaoxing rice wine is widely available in Asian grocery stores and even many regular supermarkets now. When you add about 1 tablespoon to a hot wok just before your vegetables are finished cooking, the alcohol in the wine instantly evaporates and carries aromatic flavor compounds deep into the food in a process called flavor extraction. It adds a subtle depth and complexity that is almost impossible to achieve without it. Number 21. Freeze and thaw tofu for a completely different texture. This isn't technically a vegetable, but it's central to Chinese vegetable cooking. Take your firm tofu block, freeze it completely overnight, then allow it to thaw fully at room temperature or in the refrigerator. When you press out the water afterward, the structure will have completely changed. The freezing process causes the water inside the tofu to expand and create a spongy, porous network of holes throughout the tofu. This new structure soaks up sauces and marinades extraordinarily well and gives you a much more satisfying chewy texture when stir-fried or braised. Number 20. Julienne your vegetables against the grain for tenderness. Most people just cut vegetables whichever way is easiest, but Chinese knife skills emphasize cutting carrots, celery, and similar fibrous vegetables against the grain of their natural fibers whenever possible. Hold the vegetable at an angle and cut diagonally, which interrupts those long fibrous strands running through the vegetable. This shortens the fiber length and makes each piece significantly more tender with less cooking time required. You'll also notice your vegetables absorb sauces better when cut this way. Number 19. Use oyster sauce as your secret finishing ingredient. Chinese people use oyster sauce in vegetable dishes constantly, and there's a very specific way to use it for maximum impact. Don't add it early in the cooking process because the heat will break down its complex flavors. Instead, remove your finished vegetables from heat. Then stir in 1 to 2 tablespoons of oyster sauce and toss everything together while the residual heat warms the sauce through without cooking it further. This technique preserves the full, rich umami depth of the oyster sauce and gives your vegetables that glossy restaurant-quality coating that looks and tastes spectacular. Number 18. Refresh wilted vegetables in ice water with a dash of vinegar. You know that sad bag of wilted vegetables sitting in your refrigerator right now? Here's how to revive them. Fill a large bowl with ice-cold water and add 1 tablespoon of white vinegar or rice vinegar. Submerge your wilted vegetables for 15 to 30 minutes. The cold water causes the plant cells to reabsorb moisture through osmosis, Restoring firmness. The vinegar helps restore the vegetable's natural crispness by slightly firming the pectin in the cell walls. Chinese market vendors have used this method forever to keep their produce looking fresh and appetizing. Number 17. Control your heat with the tilt and rest method for delicate vegetables. When cooking delicate vegetables like bean sprouts, sliced mushrooms, or shredded cabbage, Chinese cooks use a technique of briefly lifting the wok slightly off the flame for 2 to 3 seconds between tosses. This gives the vegetables a split-second break from intense direct heat, preventing them from releasing too much water all at once and turning soggy. The result is vegetables that are cooked through but still retain their individual crunch and structural integrity without steaming in their own liquid. Number 16. Use starch slurry to create restaurant-style glossy sauces. Mix 1 tablespoon of cornstarch with 2 tablespoons of cold water until completely smooth. At the very end of cooking your vegetable dish, push the vegetables to the side of your wok. Add your sauce to the center. Then pour in the cornstarch slurry while stirring constantly. Within 20 to 30 seconds, the starch will activate in the heat and the sauce will transform from thin and watery into a gorgeous, thick, glossy coating that clings to every single piece of vegetable. This is the technique behind that beautiful sheen you always see on Chinese restaurant vegetables. Number 15. Par-cook dense vegetables separately before combining. This is one of the most important principles in Chinese vegetable cooking that Western cooks almost never consider. Vegetables like carrots, broccoli stems, and cauliflower cook at very different speeds than softer vegetables. Rather than dumping everything in together and getting some things overcooked while others are still raw, Chinese cooks par-cook the denser vegetables in boiling water or in the oil first for 1 to 2 minutes. Then set them aside and add them back near the end when everything else is almost done. This ensures every single component reaches perfect doneness simultaneously. Number 14. Season your wok before cooking every session. This is a fundamental principle that Chinese home cooks follow religiously, but that most Westerners never learn. Before you cook anything, heat your carbon steel wok until it just begins to smoke. Then add a thin layer of oil and use a folded paper towel held in tongs to wipe the oil across the entire cooking surface. Heat for another 30 seconds, then wipe away the excess. This creates a thin polymerized oil layer that prevents vegetables from sticking, enhances heat distribution, and adds a subtle smoky complexity called wok hei to everything you cook in it. Number 13. Add baking soda to tenderize tough greens. When cooking very tough Chinese greens like older mustard greens, kale, or collards, in a Chinese-inspired preparation, add just a tiny pinch of baking soda, no more than 1/8 of a teaspoon, to your blanching water. Baking soda raises the pH of the water, which breaks down the pectin in the cell walls of the greens much faster than plain water does. This reduces your blanching time significantly while also maintaining a brilliant green color. Be careful not to add too much because it can make the vegetables taste soapy. Number 12. Use ginger as a natural tenderizer for root vegetables. Before roasting or braising root vegetables like daikon radish or turnips, toss them with freshly grated ginger and let them sit for 10 to 15 minutes. Ginger contains natural enzymes called proteases and other compounds that begin to break down the surface of these dense vegetables even before heat is applied. You'll find that your root vegetables reach perfect tenderness faster when cooked, and they develop a beautiful balance of flavors where the natural sweetness of the root comes through more clearly against the ginger's warmth. Number 11. Make your own vegetable stock from scraps the Chinese way. Chinese people waste almost nothing when it comes to vegetables. Collect the stems of shiitake mushrooms, corn cobs, green onion roots, ginger peels, and vegetable trimmings in a freezer bag over time. When you have enough, simmer everything in water for 45 minutes with a piece of dried kelp if you can find it, which is widely available in Asian grocery stores. This creates an incredibly rich, savory, umami-packed stock that forms the backbone of Chinese soups and braises. Strain and freeze in ice cube trays for convenient portions. Number 10. Use the two-stage salt method for cucumber salads. For a classic Chinese-style smashed cucumber salad, first sprinkle your cucumbers with salt and let them sit for 10 minutes to draw out excess water, then drain away the liquid. Now season your cucumber again with fresh salt, sesame oil, rice vinegar, and garlic. The reason for the two stages is that the first salting removes the watery liquid that would otherwise dilute your dressing immediately. Your second round of seasoning actually stays on and penetrates the cucumber properly, giving you an intensely flavored cucumber salad rather than a watery, diluted one. Number 9. Char your vegetables intentionally for depth of flavor. Chinese cooking is not afraid of high heat and even slight charring on vegetables. Place bok choy or cabbage wedges cut side down in a very hot, dry pan and let them sit without moving for 1 to 2 minutes until the cut surface develops deep brown caramelized patches. This Maillard reaction creates hundreds of new flavor compounds that are simply impossible to achieve with steaming or low-heat cooking. Chinese people understand intuitively that a little char equals a lot of flavor, and this technique is used extensively in Chinese barbecue culture. Number 8. Add a tiny amount of sugar to balance acidic vegetable dishes. Whenever you're making a dish with tomatoes, vinegar-based sauces, or sour vegetables, add just 1/4 teaspoon of white sugar. Chinese cooking is masterful at balancing flavors, and the Chinese understand that the human palate perceives acidity much more harshly without a counterbalancing sweetness. The sugar doesn't make the dish taste sweet at all. Instead, it rounds off the sharp acidic edges and allows the other flavors to come forward more clearly. This is one of those invisible tricks that separates good home cooking from great cooking. Number 7. Blanch and shock your vegetables to stop enzymatic degradation. After blanching vegetables, transfer them immediately to a bowl of ice water and leave them for exactly the same amount of time you blanched them. This sudden temperature drop halts all cooking instantly and also stops the enzymatic processes that break down cell walls and cause color fading. Chinese restaurant kitchens prep large quantities of vegetables this way hours in advance, and they stay vibrant and perfectly textured until service. This is how you can prep vegetables earlier in the day without them becoming dull and limp. Number 6. Use the pinch and tear method for mushrooms. Never use a knife to cut mushrooms when cooking Chinese food. Instead, use your fingers to tear them along their natural grain lines. This creates irregular torn surfaces with greater surface area than smooth knife cuts. These rough surfaces absorb sauces much more effectively and develop better browning and caramelization during cooking. Chinese cooks have known for generations that mushrooms torn by hand simply taste better than mushrooms cut with a knife because of the dramatically increased surface texture. Number 5. Steam vegetables over aromatics for infused flavor. Instead of steaming vegetables over plain boiling water, add sliced ginger, green onion, and a splash of Shaoxing wine directly to your steaming water. The steam that rises and surrounds your vegetables carries these aromatic compounds with it and infuses them subtly into the food during cooking. This is particularly beautiful with delicate vegetables like Chinese broccoli, asparagus, or snow peas. You get perfectly cooked vegetables with an underlying aromatic complexity that plain steaming could never achieve. Number 4. Use the salt and rest method to concentrate flavor in zucchini. Slice zucchini, salt it generously, and let it rest in a colander for 20 minutes. You'll see liquid pooling in the bowl below. Pat the zucchini completely dry before cooking. By removing this excess moisture before cooking rather than during cooking, you allow the zucchini to develop proper browning and caramelization in the pan, rather than steaming in its own water. This is why Chinese-style zucchini dishes have that satisfying savory depth, rather than the bland, watery quality that makes so many people think they don't like zucchini. Number 3. Build your sauce ingredients in the correct chemical order. Chinese cooking respects the science of flavor building. Add ingredients to your hot wok in this specific order. Aromatics, like garlic and ginger, first in the oil, then your vegetables, then any alcohol like shioxing wine, which evaporates and carries flavors into the food, then soy sauce for salty umami depth, then any sugar or sweet element, and finally any thickener and sesame oil completely off the heat. Adding sesame oil while the heat is still on destroys its delicate, nutty aromatic compounds through oxidation. This precise ordering produces a harmony of flavors that no amount of ingredient quality can compensate for if the order is wrong. Number 2. Smash your garlic and ginger instead of just chopping. Before mincing garlic or ginger, place the flat side of your knife over the clove or piece and press down firmly with your palm to smash it. This ruptures the cell walls and releases significantly more aromatic oils and flavor compounds than simply chopping alone would. Chinese home cooks almost universally smash their aromatics first, as a standard step that happens automatically before any other preparation. The difference in flavor intensity between smashed then chopped garlic versus simply chopped garlic is genuinely remarkable and immediate. Number 1. Master the concept of wok hei by preheating before everything else. This is the single most transformative vegetable cooking secret from Chinese cooking, and it's the reason restaurant Chinese food always tastes fundamentally different from home cooking. Preheat your wok until it's absolutely screaming hot, so hot that a drop of water instantly vaporizes on contact before you add anything at all. The intense heat creates a brief flash combustion of the oil and the high temperatures necessary for the Maillard reaction to occur almost instantaneously on your vegetables. This produces that characteristic smoky, complex, slightly charred yet fresh flavor that Chinese people call wok hei, which translates to the breath of the wok. You cannot achieve this with low or medium heat. When you finally experience true wok hei at home, you will completely understand why Chinese vegetable cooking has captivated the world for centuries. It's not just food. It's science, tradition, and pure deliciousness coming together in under 5 minutes. If you made it all the way through all 31 hacks, you now know more about Chinese vegetable cooking than most people will ever learn. Start with just 3 or 4 of these techniques this week, and you will immediately taste the difference. Drop a comment below telling me which hack surprised you the most. And if you found this useful, subscribe because there are so many more Chinese cooking secrets where these came from.